people of Bihar, one of the poormost state of India, live in and with whatever they have quite happily. Since the state is rich in natural resources and major Himalaya rivers passing through the state, the community depend heavily on them as their routine activities. The Himalaya rivers shows the ugly face in the form of a devastating flood every year. This year, it was turn of Koshi river, which is locally known as Sorrow of Bihar. On August 18, 2008, a human tragedy of unparalleled dimensions unleashed itself on millions residing in the 7 districts of North Bihar due to a breach in the eastern Koshi embankment, upstream of the Indian border in neighboring Nepal. Following the breach, the river Koshi took up a channel it had abandoned over 200 years ago, drowning towns and villages on its newly acquired course. Aside from the loss of land, crops and homes, millions of people were marooned, prompting the Prime Minister of India to declare the Bihar floods of 2008 a national calamity. On September 23, 2008, roughly 5 weeks after the embankment was breached, the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Disaster Management issued the following impact analysis. Effects of floods. 2,528 affected villages of 18 districts of Bihar. 4.7 million people highly affected. 235 deaths. 338,000 hectares crop area affected. 322,169 houses damaged. 2.1 billion rupees estimated value of total damage. Due to poor infrastructure and lack of facilities, the conditions were dire. Almost everyone in the villages had lost their homes, and most families were staying in community relief camps created by governmental and non-governmental organizations. Transportation and movement in and around the villages was nearly impossible because the water had not resided at most places. In response to the floods, AIDMI's Emergency Response Unit, with the affected communities and help of 2 local partner organizations, carried out damage and need assessments in 2 flood-affected districts, Supaul and Madhepura. Affected community leaders helped AIDMI team to walk 4 to 5 kilometers in knee to waist-high water in order to reach the villages. Based on the community need assessment, demand and priority, AIDMI initially provided support for a community kitchen for 15 days to 2 separate camps. The first was the Tekuna village of Supaul district, where 160 families were staying. With the help of the community volunteers and local partner organization, Mahila Vikas Ashram, the AIDMI team was able to target relief to the poorest of the poor, providing relief to excluded Dalit and tribal communities that are typically excluded from relief efforts after disasters. AIDMI decided to establish the community kitchen in Tekuna village based on the needs of the local community and its more accessible location. The second community kitchen AIDMI provided support to was the Beldur Canal Reef Camp of Madhepura district, where 294 families were staying. The camp was established with another local partner organization, Samajik Shaikshanik Vikas Kendra. In both camps, More than 2,500 people received 2 meals a day for a 15-day period, serving rice, dal, jaggery, groundnut, vegetable and salt. To take special care of kids, biscuits were provided, and to maintain the nutritional balance, sattu. During the Community Kitchen program, AIDMI met frequently and facilitated its local partners and community volunteers to monitor meal distribution, conduct quality checks and address concerns. In this initial phase, AIDMI included the affected community members in as many activities as possible to establish trust with and among the stakeholders. In November, AIDMI led a second spot assessment with the help of community members of Tekuna village. In many areas, the water had still yet to recede, and movement in and around the village was severely restricted. Despite the challenges, the ERU team overcame similar challenges it encountered during Phase 1 relief in September and successfully carried out the assessment. After the spot assessment, AIDMI collaborated with local communities and local partner MVA to provide a dry ration food kit consisting of ready-to-eat food items to the poorest and most vulnerable community members. These food items were selected based on demand from the community due to their current conditions and severe inability to access food. Community members were thankful for the food kits, as food items were staples of the local diet. Community leaders show commitment and led in damage assessment, identification and selection of beneficiaries, bookkeeping, weighing, packaging and distribution of the ration kit. AIDMI chose this method to promote community involvement and also to establish transparency. Community of Tekuna village has learned through participation in the entire process of relief. It was first and worst ever flood experience, and the community have fear of corruption and unequal distribution. Involving the community in the process and increased participation has gained confidence and trust in process. Covering the most affected, vulnerable and poor communities has helped them to overcome the impact of devastating flood for some days. In the months following the Bihar 2008 floods, AIDMI successfully implemented activities related to immediate food relief in the flood-affected villages of Bihar with the concrete support of local partners. In the future, there is great potential to carry out long-term rehabilitation and recovery efforts. Next steps to long-term recovery. 1. Shelter repairing. 2. Livelihood recovery support. 3. Risk transfer and mitigation. 4. Expansion of school safety campaign. 5. Exposure visits for community-to-community learning. 6. Capacity building, advocacy and evaluation.